a progressive conversation, an ecosystem, a combination of politics and economics, a vision of growth. Ongama Mtimka steering the boat. So take note as we develop potential sustainable generational wealth. D.E.P, the ultimate essential.
Welcome to another episode of the D.E.P with Ongama Mtimka, where we discuss development, economics, and politics. I'm excited today. I'm hosting Liesl De Wet, who is the head of an amazing initiative, the Africa Supply Chain Excellence Awards. Welcome, Liesl.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us. It was exciting to see you sometime this week on the fringes of the mining Indaba. I think we were attending the fun side of the Indaba.
Yes, the nice side.
Yeah. How do you find Cape Town this time of the year?
Oh, it's beautiful. It's the best time of year for
Awesome.
Cape Town. Yeah, February is a good month.
Yeah. So we're starting this show, and a lot of things are happening in the country. People are fearing that somebody's going to come and knock on their door and say, "We're expropriating this land." Are you fearful?
I'm not fearful. No, I feel like our democracy and our country has come so far. I think we really need to understand the ins and outs first before we get fearful. It's obviously a concern for sure. I mean, it does play on the back of your mind. But I like to think that it won't ever get to that point.
Yeah.
I like to think that.
Yeah, look,
I may stand under correction, but
sure.
Yeah, that's
look,
my views.
I myself don't think that we stand any risk of arbitrary expropriation of property. If anything, the Act actually has got more about compensation and how compensation should be done and determined than about no compensation. But I did send the message to my family about sections in the Act that says which properties may be expropriated, because we have an unfinished business with the farm, our grandfather's farm, about 600 some odd hectares, that actually does need to be made to be productive. So if you are out there, you want to advise how we can set up trusts and all of those things, please give me a call, comment, inbox, whatever the case may be. Wow, you're running this Supply Chain Awards.
Yes, that is
Tell
correct.
me about it.
I'm so excited. It started off as an idea in 2022. We're just coming out of COVID and looking at how do we uplift the industry? How do we recognize supply chain best practice? But not just any best practice, Africa best practice. Because, we're resilient. Africa is a resilient nation. We're innovative people. We do things differently. And most people say, oh, but Europe does this, but we're not Europe. We have different operating challenges and different requirements. And we've seen over the course of the year some incredible entries that have come through. And, also everyone was like, no, Africa, you're going to get strange entries. Should we be doing it like this? And I just thought really strongly it's something we need to do. And partnered up with Avon, who are my partners, Jenny and then Claire. And the three of us have been in the South Africa supply chain industry for many years, decided to put our heads together, and we created Africa Supply Chain Excellence Awards.
Wow, Africa Supply Chain Excellence Awards, and I like how you're talking about it. Just remind us how important supply chains are in economies.
Oh, supply chains are the lifeblood of any economy. It is critical. And actually, one of our entrants, when they were presenting to the judges, made a statement that sat with me. And it was, if supply chains fail in Africa, people die. They lose their lives.
If supply chains fail in Africa,
yes,
people lose their lives.
Yes. Think about all the medicines and the food that has to be distributed. It's a critical part of it. And, we're also looking at the whole supply chain. So, it also speaks about procurement, sustainable procurement, environmental impact, which is something very close to my heart. We've had entrance of lines being moved, safely relocated, vultures safely relocated, impact on the environment, health, supply chains, critical. So supply chains are almost the unsung hero. They're not the sexy side. It's the trucking, the packaging, the warehousing, the design, the route optimization. But without those, you won't get goods to market.
Yeah.
You won't be able to wake up and go to your nearest shop and pull a bottle of milk out the refrigerator.
Sure.
So they are critical, and they really are the lifeblood of any economy.
Yeah. So what I like about your approach is you're focusing on excellence.
Yes.
Now, whenever policymakers are thinking about supply chains and logistics in the continent, there's always references to things like, for example, it costs more to move goods in the continent than to move them between Africa and Europe, especially, or between Africa and the Americas. So people cite these as impediments to trade. But when you focus on excellence, you're looking at a glasses half full perspective.
Yes,
Was,
absolutely.
Was that an intentional thing for you?
You know, I personally am programmed that way. I've been called a naive optimist, and I think I am that. And, you know, I believe in the art of the possible. And to witness some really innovative and fantastic work being done, and to shine a spotlight on that, I feel honored that I can do that and further then inspire the industry. I mean, logistics is a tough space, make no mistake.
Yeah.
You know, costs are high, as you rightly said. Fuel price, you know, you've also got all these other legislations and tariffs coming. You know, you've got things like that, and you know, crime is a big issue. So it's not easy. It's really not easy. But you know, nothing in Africa is actually easy.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes us strong. We're resilient. We find ways of punching through.
Yeah.
And that's really the exciting stuff.
Wow. And so I'm right working on this book. I've been saying this now for 2 years on pathways to inclusion, a political economy of South Africa in the 21st century. And you've heard me at the conference making reference to BKB and how by virtue of inclusive supply chains, they're able to get people who do what they do anyway, such as keeping sheep. But what they do is they get people who are keeping sheep anyway to participate in the global supply chain of wool by going to them and not saying you must become a cooperative or you must become commercial farmers first before we can have you participate. They would, I think it's government who invested in shearing sheds. And so they come and shear their sheep communally, but it's known whose sheep belong to who, and then payments can be made on that basis. But doing that makes people participate in a global supply chain of wool. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen a lot more.
No, I haven't, but I recently, I don't know if you saw, you know, the Earthshot Prize was held here recently in Cape Town.
I was invited, by the way.
Oh my goodness! It says I had serious FOMO. But one of the award entries, and I can't remember the name, but they did a cold chain with fishermen in Africa because their fish used to go off because they didn't have proper cold chain transportation, storage, etc. And it was a simplistic logistics project that they then, okay, let's get refrigeration here, let's help you with your cold chain, and it reduced food loss, it improved their profitability, it helped with so many things because it reduced the loss of stock before going to market. And so, you know, in the supply chain world, there are so many simplistic and sometimes complicated tools and thinking and programs that you can utilize. I mean, and I'm not talking IT programs, I'm just talking thinking, like Lean Six Sigma, for example, and those kind of things that can make a supply chain a lot more efficient.
Sure.
And if you're operationally efficient, you're going to save money and you're going to improve your bottom line because you're going to get your goods to market quicker.
Sure.
So the awards showcase success stories in this space that others can learn from. And that's really the whole idea of it, is to say, we want to recognize you for being excellent at what you do, and then we want to showcase it so that we can share it with the industry so that people can learn from your example, or maybe partner with you, or you know, you never know what comes out of it, but it's to just show what is applicable and what is out there.
You
know.
Well, you're on the D.E.P with Ongama Mtimka. I'm having a lovely chat with Liesl De Wet, who is the head of this Africa Supply Chain Excellence Awards. Remember to like, subscribe, and share the channel. What we want to do here is to showcase what policy makers are doing in order to enable development, what leaders like Liesl are doing in order to stimulate key activities in the economy. We also want to look at entrepreneurs that are doing amazing things and profile them, because the whole intention of the DEP is to make sure that when you watch our content, you are like, aha, I didn't realize I could do that. Now I'm going to do it. Tell us about the most exciting entries you've seen in the last 3 years?
Yes. Sure. So we've had over 200 entries, right?
Wow.
And recognized over 90 winners. And wow. I mean, we've seen some really great things, from blockchain moving mops and livestock and food, which is in war-torn countries like Congo, for example, to our Judges Spotlight Award winner last year was the Luke Commission with the Levelo technology that they did. And they're based in Eswatini. And, you know, during COVID, there was a lack of oxygen and oxygen supply constraints. They actually created an oxygen plant in 52 days.
Wow.
And never lost a patient. Can you believe that?
Wow.
Not only that, they use technology like drones, for example, to send antivenom to the outlying areas, as well as medications which are needed. I mean, a child could be playing, you know, we have some really hectic snakes in this country, in the field, in the tree, and a snake can bite him, and time is of the essence. And when it's so far to go, a lot of children pass away. So these drones then gets deployed with antivenom and saving lives.
Wow.
And, you know, such a core team, strong leadership, like a family. And their presentation was so inspiring that all of our hardcore supply chain professional judges were in tears. I mean, it was really touching. And then they actually received a standing ovation on the night.
Wow.
They really did.
Yeah, so that's amazing. So I remember having a conversation with a property owner in Gqeberha, Ken Denton, saying when a lot of the businesses that he does, he started them initially just to provide much needed help. I think it was in Ireland, because he's an Irish guy. And they obviously profited a lot from them, but started wanting to provide help. And I'm imagining what you're talking about, delivering medicines and stuff. And entrepreneurs in Africa have got to think in this way, you know, in ways where it's business. It must be business. And at the end of the day, the bottom line must be healthy.
Absolutely.
But we have such an opportunity to touch lives here. Okay, so there's these guys from Eswatini. What else?
So we had the safety relocation of vultures, over 166 birds. Now, you know, vultures are a very, very important part of biodiversity.
Yeah.
They are nature's cleanups, and they are actually under threat due to poisoning of carcasses, that kind of thing. Their habitats, you know, sprawl, so they're losing their habitat, and they get hunted quite a lot. So they're on the endangered list, and they had a whole batch that they had been rehabilitated, and they had to move them into a sanctuary. And they moved these birds, and they did such a phenomenal job. DHL was the main sort of award winner there, and they didn't lose a single bird. And the 150 vets and support staff were transferred as well. And really, it is an incredible entry.
Wow.
And the year before that, they actually entered a line that they had to relocate. And I mean, you know, it's one thing moving food and your Heineken beer or your SA Breweries beer, but another thing moving a lion from one place to another. And it's also very specialized. So they do a lot of specialized animal relocation, and I always find that very, very interesting.
Was it by road or air?
It was by air and by road. The vultures were by road, the lions were by air.
Okay. Wow. You mentioned that your entries have covered a majority of countries in Africa.
Yes.
Have you had any entries from Somalia, for example?
No, not Somalia. So we've had from Ghana, we've had from Congo, Mozambique. We've obviously quite a lot from South Africa.
Yeah.
So we've had from all over. Botswana, Egypt, as I mentioned, there were some there that they weren't as successful, but I mean, there are some. So it's really it's heartwarming to see that our message is getting across and into Africa, and we're getting these interests. Obviously we always need more. I mean, the more we can have, the more success stories we can unearth and find. And it's one thing them entering, but once they've entered, there's a whole process on the back end where our judges actually get involved and mentor and guide the entrants in terms of their story and what they're going to share with us. Because we're not all good storytellers, and the project could be amazing, but the story doesn't come out that way.
Sure.
So it's always good to understand, mentor and help a little bit to understand it. And the judges love that because it also gives them insight into what's happening and some of the stories there.
Sure.
So we also had a team from Nucleus Mining, an all-woman team that won an award, and they were a real bunch of powerhouses, let me tell you. So
what did they do?
Procurement. It was on the procurement side. Very interesting entry. And in fact, if you go onto our website, we've got all the winners listed in what category they've won and more details about their entry. And I really encourage your listeners, if they're interested, to go in there and look for the detail. It's I'll give it to you. It's www.ascea.co.za, and just go in and have a look. The photos are there, the stories are there, and it's just mind blowing.
Wow, that's really amazing. Yeah. I'd like you to explain to them who is your ideal applicant.
So if you've got a supply chain story to tell, and it could be a project, it could be around a technological development in the supply chain space, it can be procurement, environmental impact, and you've got a great story you'd like to tell us or a project you'd like to share with us, please enter our awards. Our deadline is the 17th of April. If you go onto the website, it's all online. You go in there, you put all your company details, and you give a bit of synopsis of your story, and someone will contact you afterwards if you're successful to the next round. But we want to hear from you, and we want to share your stories with everyone. We want to inspire everybody. So I'm very passionate about supply chains, and I'm very passionate about Africa. And this at least gives me the opportunity to bring the two together and share the story with our esteemed judges and partners. So please, I really would encourage you to enter.
Awesome. Thank you. The Africa Supply Chain Excellence Awards. And as I mentioned, my interest in this from a development point of view is the extent to which the innovation of people who enable supply chains are able to integrate people who are on the outskirts of economies and get them to participate. Maybe this is a category, if there isn't a category for this, where it's for example, people keep livestock, and a lot of them actually don't really have platforms to sell that large stock. And when people are being encouraged to become farmers, people will be saying to them, you need to grow to become a commercial farmer. And sometimes people don't want to become anything more than a person who keeps 20 or 30 or whatever the case may be. And so supply chains then become aggregating mechanisms. I'm liking the story about the fish and other things. A lot can happen in the continent if we had these innovative ways in which people who grow their food anyway. I mean, I'm thinking about, my wife comes from Bizana, which is on the border, almost on the border of KZN and the Eastern Cape. I kid you not, the amount of output per household there of mealies is amazing. Maize, it's amazing. And that output could be brought into mainstream markets. And the way to do it are innovative supply chains.
And young supply chain professionals, come on. This space is, for me, an exciting space. Because as you say, if you can't get that produce to market, you're not making money of it, you're not generating an income, you're not stimulating the economy, There are so many areas of it. So the right supply chain partners, the right mechanism to get your goods to market is really critical. And I think it's underrated. I think people don't appreciate it as much because, supply chain professionals just get on with business, right? That's what we do. We get on with it. We do it. We just do it as we do it.
Sure.
So it's great to have an opportunity to talk about it and share those success stories. And it'll be great. I'm sure we've got some really brilliant young engineering minds coming up that will look at this thing and go, there must be a better way.
Sure. You're working in a logistics
Yes,
company
I do.
yourself. What's your confidence about the increase in intra-continental trade?
Look, I think that I'm confident. I think Africa can be a really great powerhouse economically, but there are obviously a few challenges that we have to get through. For example, border posts, unrest in countries. I mean, we saw Mozambique border post being closed down, it caused havoc, and I think we've got an opportunity to work together to get it flowing.
Yeah.
I really do believe we've got massive potential and opportunity in Africa, massive.
Wow.
But we'll never realize that if we don't start thinking smart.
Sure.
About how we do things and how we behave.
Wow.
And so forth. So, that's just my view on that. I think great opportunity, lots of opportunity, partner with the right partners, and share the success stories.
Wow. And are you committed to making it happen?
Yeah.
Or are you going to relocate somewhere?
No, I'm stuck here. I ain't going nowhere. I actually I traveled overseas on a work trip in Germany and Europe, and I loved it. But let me tell you something. When I came back, I nearly kissed the customs guy, and he laughed at me. And I said to him, "Oh my God, I miss Africa. I miss the vibrant South Africa. I miss it."
Sure.
And once Africa's in your blood, it's in your blood. And even a lot of my friends who are overseas, like they can't wait to come home and visit, and they just miss it.
Wow.
So I really hope we can find a way of coexisting harmoniously and just bring in a bit of stability and excitement about opportunities.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you, Liesl.
Thank you.
I can see that optimism. You're beaming with hope and everything.
Thank you.
And I wish you the best in terms of what you are trying to do, what you've been doing. And I'm hoping that this is going to encourage people who, yes, make efficient logistics in mainstream economies, but also efficient logistics in bringing in producers that are on the margins and can come in. Because once people start selling in markets, then it's got a stimulating effect where everybody now starts going, oh wow, I didn't know you could. We could be here in Paddy and participate in a global value chain of wool, of beef, and whatever the case may be. Now that there are people who are enabling it, we want to be a part of it. In fact, in Aloe, when I grew up in the 90s, there used to be these women that went into the bush and they would cut aloe leaves and harvest that
aloe is
juice.
Amazing.
Yeah,
the juice is incredible.
Yeah, and I mean, people used to come with their small trucks, take this aloe, pay people.
Yeah.
The aloe is there, whether or not the person came, it's gonna remain there.
Yeah.
But if there's an entrepreneur who harnesses the potential, then there's an economic activity. And before you know it, we are thriving.
And that's why these kind of conversations are so important. Because we're having a conversation, but who's to say who hears our conversation and comes up with these ideas as well to contribute to it? And that's the idea, is to share the ideas, share the best practice, stimulate that conversation so that, it can result in something like that, something positive and exciting.
Amazing. Any last words?
Thank you so much for having me on the show and for giving me the platform about sharing our passion around the awards. And excited to send you some feedback. In fact, you should actually join us at our awards and come and see firsthand the ceremony and the guys that come and win. But we'd really like to invite you to come and join us.
Awesome. You heard it. I've just been offered an all expenses paid.
Well, I don't think I said those words, but there we go.
Yeah, no. I'm closing the lead now. I'll definitely make a way to get there.
100%.
Please stay connected to the DEP. We want to share more of these ideas where you can learn ways in which you can grow your community, your business, and any other initiative that brings about development, positive economy, and in fact, a working political environment. Till next time.